So, good evening, everyone. My topic is small incision cataract surgery in compromised cornea. So, cornea is a beautiful structure that is also the cataract surgeon's window to the patient's eye. It gives a crystal clear magnified view of the internal structures while acting as a roof to a stable chamber, allowing uneventful surgery. However, we do sometimes come across cataracts in eyes that have some defects in the cornea. So in this presentation, I take a look at some of the problems faced and how do we manage them. Coming to the first one, Fuchs endothelial corneal disease, the presence of microcystic edema, stromal thickening, and a low central endothelial cell count by specular microscopy indicates an increased likelihood of corneal decompensation after cataract surgery. In these patients, cataract surgery should be combined with endothelial keratoplasty. Central corneal thickness of greater than 640 microns, usually measured using ultrasound pachymeter, may be predictive of corneal decompensation, and that means a combined procedure will be needed. Choice of intraocular lens. If endothelial keratoplasty is combined with cataract surgery, use a standard monofocal aspheric intraocular lens. Hydrophobic IOL is always preferred. Both small incision cataract surgery and phacoemulsification result in a similar amount of endothelial cell loss. SICS may indeed be a better option. The soft shell technique of using a dispersive viscoelastic against the endothelium, followed by a supercohesive viscoadaptive agent, is particularly effective. The choice of the solution may also contribute to endothelial cell survival. In the units where ringer lactate may be routinely used, one should use balanced salt solution. The next entity is scarred cornea. Traditionally, we have been taught that corneal opacities are classified as nebula, macula, and leucoma, depending on the density of the opacity. But it's not as simple as that. In addition to the density of the opacity, other things which may be kept in mind is the size and the extent of the opacity, and also the location with respect to the center of the cornea. So if it's an eccentric scar, one could just get away with small incision cataract surgery alone. But if it's a scar that's coming in the pupillary axis, you have to add a few things to your routine surgery steps. One of the simplest thing is to put viscoelastic on the cornea, especially if you have a very regular surface. Putting a dispersive viscoelastic improves your visualization quite a bit. Endoilluminator is basically a light source connected to a fiber optic cable, and that can be then put either on the surface of the eye tangentially or obliquely, or it can also be put in the eye through a side port. Significantly, it improves your visualization. When the epithelium surface is unhealthy, debriding the epithelium can give a better vision. If the scar is dense, which is right in the center, and it's really going to not allow the patient to see after surgery, then you may have to do a keratoplasty along with a cataract surgery. Next is irregular cornea, another situation that occasionally is faced by cataract surgeons, secondary to variety of conditions like keratoconus, pellucid marginal degeneration, post-LASIK ectasias, and so on. Corneal topography is important, and multiple measurements should be taken to ensure repeatability. The major problem here is IOL power calculation. There are various online calculators available, and it is better to err towards post-operative myopia, which is easier to correct than hyperopia. The next thing is infection. So in rare cases, steroid and surgical trauma may cause reactivation of old infection. Post-operatively, topical NaCid may be used instead of steroids to decrease this risk. Any active ulcer, if performing a therapeutic keratoplasty, the crystalline lens should be retained as a barrier to pathogen entry into the posterior segment. The next is ocular surface disease. So prior to cataract surgery, treat dry eye, blepharitis, Mobius gland disease to prevent errors in IOL power calculation and epithelial toxicity. So last entity is pterygium. So if you have a small atrophic pterygium, you can get away by doing a simple SICS. But if you have active fleshy pterygium, it is better to do a pterygium surgery first, wait for 3 months, and then plan for a cataract surgery. The reason for this is the stromal remodeling takes place for 3 months. So take-home points from my presentation will be: personalize the treatment plan and consider individual factors such as cataract density, the health and thickness of the cornea. Patient counseling is very essential for a positive outcome. We have various challenges when dealing with compromised cornea in cataract surgery. So, but we do have many options. So, small incision cataract surgery provides a safe and cheap alternative to phacoemulsification in compromised cornea, both to improve your visualization and to protect the corneal endothelium. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aarti Heda, for the wonderful presentation.